Welcome. Welcome to 7 Kinds of Mischief. That's right, we're back.
And late.
I got my war paint on and I'm ready to roll. Yeah.
Oh, you're allowed to. I approve.
I dare him to say shit to me. How are you, my friend? It is good to be back on here with you.
It is. It's been we had last week off, but no, it's good. I'm doing great. How are you doing? You sound good.
I'm doing
you sound
good.
Married.
I love it. I sound married. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Holy shit. Oh, I'm doing good. Married life's doing good. How are you?
Not too bad, actually. You can save it for the end of my stuff, but I sent you a third picture. That's the official one, but we'll wait on that. But just plugging along, learning how to cook better. Apparently, my food's really good, and getting more and more visitors over for me to cook. So that's not too bad. I'm enjoying it. And then, just the regular thing. So everything's going good.
Cooking with Adega Outlaw.
I probably should do that. Yeah, I had people contacting me for my fruit salad recipe, so I had to repost it on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to see how I make it's not a regular fruit salad, it's more like a dessert thing.
Potato salad.
Yeah, and doing the turkey thing for the group of people the other day, and so just I'm having fun.
Nice.
And I showed you what I got. For those of you who don't know already, I live in the middle of farm BFG, which is great. And for next to the cost of nothing, I bought a quarter cow pre-processed, and I showed Loki pictures, invited him over for a barbecue, but he didn't come over.
Oh.
There's steaks in there, there's 30 pounds of ground beef and roasts and all that good stuff. So,
well, I would have come over. I definitely would have come over.
I would burn one for you.
That's right. Burn it down to the ground. Tell you what. So I didn't tell you. You're gonna love this. So since we're talking about cooking, we'll talk about cooking for just a minute. I know we're gonna get the spooky stuff, I promise. But we'll talk. So thanks to a wonderful contributor to the channel. And I don't know if they want me to say who they are. They know who they are. They work at a company that sells pizza ovens.
Oh.
And so Loki got an Oni pizza oven.
One of the wood burning ones?
Nope. This is an indoor. It's huge. It weighs like 150 pounds.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. You went big. Oh, my.
I went big. I was like, okay, I'm getting, because I got like half off. So, and I'm not kidding you. I got half off. So I went big.
Does it have the stone bottom?
It's got the stone bottom.
Oh
yeah, right.
Okay, we're going to Loki's.
I hooked it up. I'm like, ooh, it's like, okay. I followed all the instructions. I was super careful, with it. And I'm like, ooh, yeah. And it's like, okay, you have to full blown turn it on maximum blast and season it for the first time before you cook anything in. I was like, all right. So I cranked that bitch up to 900 degrees and I turned the timer on full. I followed all of the instructions. And at about 500 degrees, it crashed.
Oh.
And I got an
no.
error. I got an error code.
Oh,
and
no.
I looked it up, and about 1 in 100 of these fails. It's got a short in the heating element. This thing gets to 900 degrees. Talking about an oven that gets to 900 degrees.
Yeah.
And so
and
I had to send it back and crashed. I had to send it back. I reached out to Oni first, and Oni was like, it is a fault in the element. Happens about 1 in 100 ovens. Send it back. We will replace it. So I'm waiting on my new oven. Yes.
All right. Well, you're going to have to do your cooking class then when you get your pizza oven and show everyone how to do it.
Oh, yeah. So the wonderful Heiress of Chaos just bought me a coffee. Which I'm not supposed to be having, but I'm having it anyway. So,
Thank you, Heiress.
Coffee days. Thank you, Heiress. But
Very cool. I can't wait to hear your results on that.
I can't wait. The dough takes about 2 days to make. So
yeah, good dough will. I make pizza dough, the good stuff, where you have to refrigerate it and let it compact and you kill the yeast and, well, not definitely kill it, but you overwork it and all that. Yep.
And definitely, Chris, I definitely will. Thank you, brother. So good evening, everybody that's here. Squeak a Mouse, Lady Miss, the Guardian of the Voids here. Jingles, the Christmas elf. Wonder who Jingles the Christmas elf is. Who are you, Jingles the Christmas elf? But greetings. Greetings. It's good to see you. Penny is here.
Make me nervous.
Wop's here. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everybody. Pat S is here. He says, Doc. Adega. That's right. Leia Rose, the lovely Leia Rose is here. Good evening, Leia Rose. It's good to see you. I'm Santa's head elf. All right. Jingles the Christmas elf.
All right. Christmas elves still make me nervous. They are always watching.
Cool picture. Love the white hair.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have tonight?
Well, I ran into something the other day. I've got a few things on the back burner, but this one kind of came up front, and some of you probably seen it, so I want to get into it. Save the video. You'll know when to run it, but there's a picture. And those of you who've seen some of my recent, if you follow me on Twitter, you probably would have seen I showed a little bit of interest in this. But he's going to show you a picture. I'm going to tell you a story that most of you know. They've made television programs. Where did it go? On those mysterious shows of the missing flight of Malaysia 370. It was a flight scheduled, and I'm going to read this out of paraphrasing from Wikipedia because it's not the important part. It's just giving you background. And in the Wikipedia, it gives you a ton of information, all the, how much fuel in weights by kilograms and pounds, all of that stuff. So I'm going to just kind of skim through it. If you guys want to look at it later, go ahead. But it was Saturday, March 8th. In 2014, taking off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to Beijing, China. It was one of 2 daily flights operating from Malaysia, and it was scheduled to depart at local time at 35:00:35, and arrive at 6:30 on the local time. The planned flight duration was 5 hours, 34 minutes, which would consume, and it goes in, like I said, it gives you all the details in this wiki. It's pretty interesting. It departed a few minutes late at 00:42 in Malaysian time. And let's see, they were hooked up with the waypoint at IGARI. Those of you who know how to fly would know a little bit better than that. I had ground school once upon a time, and I've promptly forgot a lot of this stuff. Voice analyst was determined that the first officer communicated with ATC while the flight was on the ground, and there's there are a few other things that happened. The aircraft's final transmission was an automated position report sent using the Aircraft Communications Address Reporting System, or ACARS, and that was at 106 to the Malaysia. But then there was the final sign-off when Captain Zari acknowledged the transmission. This was at 1:19:30. And it goes, Malaysia 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. And they got a reply, good night, Malaysia 370. The crew was expected to give in another report, but it never did. There's a huge thing about the radar. We're going to skip that. Malaysia Airlines issued a media statement at 7:24, so this is 6 hours later, 1 hour after the scheduled arrival time of the flight at Beijing, stating that communications with the flight had been lost at 2:40, so it had been missing for 5 hours, almost 5 hours. And the government had initiated a search and rescue operations. As you know, that went on for quite a long time. And it was gone. No one has any idea what happened. It was, for that time, was the largest loss of life for a Boeing 777, right? Yeah, Boeing 777. My favorite commercial plane, by the way. Let's get into the passengers a little bit. I could not find the one I was looking for because this doesn't give you everything that it had. It says passengers was 227. 153 were Chinese, 19 artists with family members. 38 passengers were from Malaysia, and the remaining 12 were different. Remaining were from 12 different countries. Nationality 6 Australian, 2 Canadian, which is the ones that make me nervous. And I cannot remember where I found the articles, but there were some suspicious people on there that some people thought probably should have disappeared, including one Russian. So what came to me the other day, and again, you guys could probably see this on my Twitter feed, but we'll show it here. You can also see the link to, or at least a reference to, on Rumble, was an odd video that this guy, he's a reputable reporter in the underworld. He's not anything from the antique legacy media that no one trusts anymore. And he's not huge in the new media, but he does have a voice. And this is interesting. I am going to let him explain the whole thing in his own video. You can see there if you want to watch it. It was a podcast on Rumble this month on the 16th. And after we see this, there's a little bit more I want to add to it. So go ahead.
This was another one of the false claims that the corridor crew guy Nico made, saying there was no parallax. There actually is proven parallax that you see here. So that's pretty incredible here, that when you see this. Now let's watch it again. We see our orbs. We see them spinning. Look at this there's definitely purpose here. We can see this mouse here moving around. And now the orientation changes, like they're getting ready for something here. It changes right here and they go vertical. And now they're spinning vertically at an angle. And our drone is somewhere right off the screen over here. Now here it comes. The zap. You see that illumination? Accurately illuminate the clouds. We think that's explained by the particles in the area becoming energized. the leaker moves the video over to the right. Again, we think this is like a Google Earth video playback. And then they close the screen recording. They just close out the screen recording. Now let's look at the other one. Now here's the thermal. So now we're looking at it from the other angle. So that first one was from outer space, looking down, not looking up. And this one now is at a side angle with this MQ-1C. We can see the drone. I mean, we can see it. We can see this high quality clouds as well. We can tell somebody's manually tracking it. We can see the smoke. We can see the orbs show up. And here you can see these orbs are perfectly spherical. It's not a metal ball. This is some kind of field around something much smaller. We see these lines in front of it. These lines are in front of the orbs. They're pulling the orbs forward almost, right? Or better explanations, they're creating their own gravity, their own geodesics. You can see the heat signature on the orbs spinning around on their axis. We can see it goes out of field. So like, this is one of the pieces of evidence too that it's real as well. If this was fake, you're going to keep the plane in focus. You're not going to have the plane go out of focus. This is because somebody's manually tracking it. They're not using automatic tracking. Then they zoom in. They want to get a really good, clear shot. And then right before the zap, they zoom out because they know exactly what's about to happen. And then right here, you're going to see these orbs, the monopoles are going to turn towards the middle. And the orbs are going to converge on the plane. And then the zap happens. So if you fake this, you have to have a better understanding of physics than the experts. Because I've got experts telling me this is exactly what this kind of thing should look like. So some kind of faker is like a master PhD of physics and mathematics to create these perfect patterns. Look at that. You see that? Watch the super, super slow-mo here. The orbs actually bend in the last frame because we think they're creating a field here. Gravitational lensing. You can watch the orbs spin. And they converge. Look at that converging. The orbs are spinning and they're going to converge these monopoles. And then they, right in that last frame there, it blurs. Oh, crap. I can't get it, but it blurs in the last frame. And that's indication that this plane is accelerating, maybe even accelerating to the speed of light. So pretty wild videos, right?
All right. So that what you saw there was a satellite image because there's never been any wreckage of this thing found. The other was, and some say they found bits and pieces, but they're not conclusive. The other was, like he said, someone was following the aircraft with infrared. I thought, that's kind of cool. It's interesting. But recent thing came up was they are now offering $100,000 reward for anyone who can prove this is a fake. So if you guys think you can actually debunk this one, there's a lot of money on hand. But I thought that was really, really interesting. That type of technology is not new. Those of you who know and follow this kind of stuff and know me, the type of technology we have now has been around for a very, very long time. We are just being fooled to believe that we don't have this stuff. But either way, I figured I would show you with this interesting little tidbit of potential problem or mystery solved. But I don't know for sure. And my tendency is to kind of believe it or not. Normally I'm one who sits on the fence unless I get a lot more evidence. But knowing the guy, his reporting, seeing how this was done, I don't know. Anyway, I figured I'd leave you with that little mystery of the flight Malaysia 370. There you go.
Nice. You sent me another picture.
Oh yeah, I did. Yes, there it is. That is the official book cover. As soon as I finish a few little things working with Barnes & Noble, it will be out. And that's just on my end. Everything's ready to roll. So as soon as I get it done, that would be the 4th book in the Evolution series. That's one that Dave G knows very well. I showed him an early preview of this, but that's it.
Those are the most beautiful covers.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll make sure Paige hears about it too.
I was just about to say, I am assuming this is Paige's work. It looks just like Paige's work.
It's Paige. Yep. So Yeah, that'll be number 4 in the Evolution series, and that'll be all the completed works for Evolution. I'm working on one more right now, but um, that one, I'm just having fun taking my time and doing other things. So expect a hardcover of that one whenever I get off my lazy butt and finish up my stuff with Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Dave G. Sound says, beautiful. Chris Persia says, looking great, Adega.
Thanks.
No, that is
Thanks.
absolutely awesome. Lovely Sherry says hello.
Hello. Now, Dave G, his next comment, there was, and those of you who know him, he doesn't talk about difficulties and things, but there was a time a while back where he was a little disappointed because I pulled it off of YouTube. And, I try and do right by my friend, so I let him have the audio access off of YouTube for a while for that story. It's correct me if I'm wrong, Dave G, but I think that's your favorite out of the series. And so he got to listen to that a few more times before. It's going to be a little different when you see it in book form than what it was in audio, because like I said, that's all editing stuff. And my YouTube's an editing tool. Okay, yeah, he says that's his favorite out of all of them. So, but soon enough, you'll be able to get it in hand.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to order it. I want them all. I must have all editions.
All right. Well, thank you.
The editions.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Your turn.
Yes, my turn. So we're almost at the end of Tales of Norse Mythology. So I've got another chapter I want to read tonight. It's called The Twilight of the Gods.
All right.
One of the distinctive features of Northern mythology is that the people always believed that their gods belonged to a finite race. The Aesir had had a beginning, therefore it was reasoned they must have an end. And as they were born from a mixture of the divine and giant elements, being thus imperfect, they bore with them the germ of death, and were, like men, doomed to suffer physical death in order to attain spiritual immortality. The whole scheme of Northern mythology was therefore a drama, every step leading gradually to the climax of a tragic end, when, with true poetic justice, punishment and reward were impartially meted out. In the foregoing chapters, the gradual rise and decline of the gods have been carefully traced. We have recounted how the Aesir tolerated the presence of evil, personated by Loki in their midst, how they weakly followed his advice, allowed him to involve them in all manner of difficulties from which they could be extricated only at the price of part of their virtue or peace, and finally permitted him to gain such ascendancy over them that he did not scruple to rob them of their dearest possessions, purity or innocence, as personified by Balder the Good. Too late, the gods realized how evil was this spirit that had found a home among them. And too late, they banished Loki to Earth, where men, following the gods' example, listened to his teachings and were corrupted by his sinister influence. Brothers slay brothers, sisters children, shed each other's blood. Hard is the world. Sensual sin grows huge. There is sword ages, axe ages, shields are cleft in two, storm ages, murder ages, till the world falls dead and men no longer spare or pity one another. Seeing that crime was rampant and all good banished from the earth, the gods realized that the prophecies uttered of old were about to be fulfilled, and that the shadow of Ragnarok, the twilight or dusk of the gods, was already upon them. Sol and Mani grew pale with affright and drove their chariots trembling along the appointed path. looking back with fear, and the pursuing wolves would surely overtake and devour them. And as their smiles disappeared, the earth grew sad and cold, and the terrible Fimble winter began. Then snow fell from the 4 points of the compass at once. Biting wind swept down from the north, and all the earth was covered with a thick layer of ice. This severe winter lasted during 3 whole seasons without a break, and was followed by 3 others equally severe, during which all cheer departed from the world, and the crimes of men increased with fearful rapidity, whilst the general struggle for life, the last feelings of humanity and compassion disappeared. In the dim recesses of the ironwood and the giantess Yarnaxa, or Angerboda, fed the wolves Hadi, Skoll, and Monogrum, and progeny to Fenris with the marrow of murderers and adulterers' bones. And such was the prevalence of these vile crimes that the well nigh insatiable monsters were never stinted for food. They daily gained strength to pursue Sol and Mani, and finally overtook and devoured them, deluging the earth with blood and their dripping jaws. Basically, they chased the moon and the sun until they devoured the moon and the sun. At this terrible calamity, the whole earth trembled and shook. The stars of fright fell from their places, and Loki, Fenris, and Garm, renewing their efforts, rent their chains asunder and rushed forth to take their revenge. At the same moment, the dragon Nidhugg gnawed through the root of the ash Yggdrasil, which quivered to its topmost bough. The red rock Fjallar, perched above Valhalla, loudly crowed in alarm, which was immediately echoed by Gullinkambi, the rooster in Midgar, and by Hell's dark red bird, the Niflheim. I can get to the next page. All right. Heimdall, noting these ominous portents and hearing the rooster's show cry, immediately put the Galar horn to his lips and blew the long expected blast, which was heard throughout the world. The first sound of this rally, Seer and Ironhar sprang from their golden couches and sailed bravely out to the great hall, armed for the coming fray, and mounting their impatient steeds, they galloped over the quivering rainbow bridge to the spacious fields of Vigrid, whereas Brutendir had predicted long before the last battle was to take place. The terrible Midgard snake, Jomdagr, had been aroused by the general disturbance, and with immense writhings and commotion, whereby the seas were lashed into huge waves such had never before disturbed the depths of the ocean. He crawled out upon the land and hastened to join the dread prey in which he was to play a prominent part. One of the great waves, stirred by Jomdagil's struggle, set afloat Naglfar, the fatal ship, which was constructed entirely out of nails of the dead people whose relatives had failed through the ages in their duty, having neglected to par the nails of the deceased ere they were laid to rest. No sooner was this vessel afloat than Loki boarded it with a fiery host from Muspelheim and steered it broadly over the stormy waters to the place of conflict. This was not the only vessel bound for Vigrid, however, for out of a thick fog bank towards the north came another ship, steered by Hrym, in which were all the frost giants, armed to the teeth and eager for a conflict with the Aesir, whom they had always hated. At the same time, Hel, the goddess of death, crept through a crevice in the earth out of her underground home, closely followed by the hellhound Garm, the malefactors of her cheerless realm, and the dragon Nidhugg, which flew over the battlefield bearing corpses upon its wings. As soon as he landed, Loki welcomed these reinforcements with joy, and placing himself at their head, marched with them to fight. Suddenly the skies were rent asunder, and through the fiery breach rode Suitor with his flaming sword, followed by his sons. And as they rode over the bridge Bifrost with intent to storm Asgard, the glorious arch sank with a crash beneath their horses' tread. The gods knew full well that their end was now at hand, and that their weakness and lack of foresight placed them under great disadvantage. For Odin had but one eye, Tyr one hand, and Frey nothing but a stag's horn wherewith to defend himself. Instead of his invisible sword, nevertheless, the Aesir did not show any signs of despair, but like true battle gods of the north, they donned their richest attire and gaily rode to the battlefield, determined to sell their lives as dearly as possible. While they were mustering their forces, Odin once more rode down to the Urdar fountain, where, under the toppling Yggdrasil, the North sat with veiled faces and obstinately silent, their web line torn at their feet. Once more, the father of the gods whispered a mysterious communication to Mimir, after which he remounted Sleipnir and rejoined the waiting boat. The combatants were all assembled on Bagheer's broad plain. On one side were ranged the stern, calm faces of the Aesir, Banas and Einhar, while on the other were gathered the motley host of Suitor, the grim frost giants, the pale army of Hela, and Loki and his dread followers, Gram, Fenris, and Jormungandr. The two later belching forth fire and smoke and exhaling clouds of noxious, deadly vapors, which filled all of heaven and earth with their poisonous breath. All the pent-up antagonism of the ages was now let loose in a torrent of hate. Each member of the opposing host fighting with grim determination, as did the ancestors of old, hand to hand, face to face. With a mighty shock heard above the roar of battle which filled the universe, Odin and the Fenris wolf came into impetuous contact, while Thor attacked the Midgard snake, and Tyr came to grips with the dog Garm. Frey closed with Suitor, Heimdall with Loki, whom he had defeated once before. The remainder of the gods and all the Einhar engaged foes equally worthy of their courage. But in spite of their daily preparation, the heavenly city, Valhalla's host was doomed, and Odin was amongst the first of the shining ones to be slain. Not even the high courage and mighty attributes of the Allfather could withstand the tide of evil as personified as the Fenris wolf. At each succeeding moment of the struggle, its colossal size assumed greater proportions until finally its wide open jaws embraced all the space between heaven and earth, and the full monster rushed furiously upon the father of the gods and engulfed him in one bite. None of the gods could lend the Allfather a helping hand at the critical moment, for it was time of sore trial to all. Frey put forth heroic effort, but Suitor's flashing sword now dealt him a death stroke. In his struggle with his archenemy Loki, Heimdall fared better, but his final conquest was clearly bought, for he too fell dead. The struggle between Tyr and Garm had the same tragic end, and Thor, after a most terrible counter with the Midgard snake, and after slaying him with a stroke from Mjolnir, staggered back 9 paces and was drowned in the flood of venom which poured from the dying monster's jaws. Vidar now came rushing from a distant part of the plain to avenge the death of his mighty sire, and the doom foretold fell upon Fenris, whose lower jaw now felt the impress of that shoe which had been reserved for this day. At the same moment, Vidar seized the monster's upper jaw with his hands, and with one terrible wrench, tore him asunder. The other gods who took part in the fray, and all the Einhar, having now perished, Suitor suddenly flung his fiery brand over heaven, earth, and the 9 realms of hell. The raging flames enveloped the massive stem of the world ash Yggdrasil and reached the golden palaces of the gods, which were utterly consumed. The vegetation upon earth was likewise destroyed. The fervent heat made all the waters seethe. The great conflagration raged fiercely until everything was consumed. When the earth, blackened and scarred, slowly sank beneath the boiling waves of the sea, Ragnarok had come. The world tragedy was over, the divine actors were slain, and chaos seemed to have resumed its former sway. But as in a play, after the principals are slain, the curtain is fallen, the audience still looks for the favorites to appear and make their bow. So the ancient northern races fancied that, all evil having perished in Suder's flames, from the general ruin, goodness would rise to resume its sway over the earth, and that some of the gods would return to dwell in heaven forever. Our ancestors believed fully in regeneration and held that after a certain spare of time, the earth, purged by fire and purified by its immersion in the sea, rose again in all its pristine beauty, was illuminated by the sun. His chariot was driven by a daughter of Sol, born before the wolf had devoured her mother. The new orb of day was not imperfect, as the first sun had been, and its rays were no longer so ardent that a shield had to be placed between it and the earth. The more beneficent rays soon caused the earth to renew its green mantle, to bring forth flowers and fruit in abundance. Two human beings, a woman, Lith, and a man, Lithbrotha, now emerged from the depths of Mimir's forest, whence they had fled for refuge when Sutter set fire to the world. They had sunk into peaceful slumber there, unconscious of the destruction around them, and had remained nurtured by the morning dew until it was safe for them to wander out once more. When they took possession of the regenerated earth, which their descendants were to people and over with where they have full sway. All the gods who represented the developing forces of nature were slain on the fatal field of the grid. But Bali and Vidar, the types of the imperishable forces of nature, returned to the field of Ida, where they were met by Modi and Magni, Thor's sons, personifications of strength and energy, who rescued their father's sacred hammer from the general destruction and carried it thither with them. Here they were joined by Honir, no longer in exile among the Vanas, who as developing forces had also vanished forever. And out of the dark underworld, where he had languished so long, rose the radiant Balder, together with his brother Hoder, with whom he was reconciled, with whom he was to live in perfect amenity and peace. The past had gone forever, and the surviving deities to recall it with bitterness. The memory of their former companions was, however, dear to them, and full often did they return to their old homes to linger over the happy associations. It was thus that walking one day in the long grass of Dovold, they found again the golden discs with which the Asir had been wont to sport. The small band of gods turned mournfully towards the place where their lordly dwellings once stood. They became aware, to their joyful surprise, that Gimli, the highest heavenly abode, had not been consumed, for it rose glittering before them, its golden roof outshining the sun. Hastening thither, they discovered, to their great increase of their joy, that it had become the place of refuge for all the virtuous. As the Norsemen who settled in Iceland, and through whom the most complete exposition of the Odinic faith had come down to us in the Eddas and sagas, were not definitely converted until the 11th century, although they had come in contact with Christians during their Viking raids nearly 6 centuries before. It is very probable that the northern scholars gleaned some idea of the Christian doctrine, and that this knowledge influenced them to a certain extent and colored their description of the end of the world, the regeneration of the earth. It It's perhaps this vague knowledge also which induced them to add the Edda A verse, which is generally supposed to have been interpolated, proclaiming that another god, too mighty to name, would arise to bear rule over Gimli. From his heavenly seat, he would judge mankind and separate the bad from the good. The former would be banished to the horrors of Nastrand, while the good would be transported to the blissful halls of Gimli the Fair. There were two other heavenly mansions, however, one reserved for the dwarves and the other for the giants, whereas these creatures had no free will and blindly executed the decree of fate. They were not thought to be responsible for any harm done by them, and were therefore held to be undeserving of punishment. The dwarves ruled the Sindri, were said to occupy a hall in the Nilda Mountains, where they drank the sparkling mead while the giants took their pleasure in the hall Brimer, situated in the region of Auckland, which means not cool. For the power of cold was entirely annihilated and there was no more ice. Various mythologists have, of course, attempted to explain these myths. Some, as we have already stated, see in the story of Ragnarok the influence of Christian teachings and esteem it only a barbaric version of the end of the world and the coming judgment day, when a new heaven and earth shall rise, all the good shall enjoy eternal bliss. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the twilight of the gods.
I'd never heard the whole story of Ragnarok. I've always had bits and pieces. That's cool.
So, thank you. We do have one more chapter, and that is the comparative mythologies of Greek and Northern mythologies, comparing each of the gods and what influence the Norse had compared to what influence the Greeks had, and so on and so forth. Did they affect each other? They most certainly did.
As a geek side note, it's interesting to hear those type of things when you have things like The Witcher or there's several other games where you're going to hear names like the Naglfar and various different things where they pull out of Norse mythology and ancient German and Polish to season their stories.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all so much for being here. We're almost at that. We're almost at the end of this book. We'll probably finish it up next week. It is an honor and privilege to get to do this with Adega, and that you guys come and hang out with us on these Thursday nights. Thank you so very much.
It's always fun. Always fun.
So, if you didn't hear this morning, please come by if you can tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time as we rebuild the Late Show with me and Snowdub. So, Late Show will be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time after Snowdub's stream. It will be me and Snowdub and guests. But henceforth, moving forward, after talking to Mike and talking to Snowdub, because I didn't want to do it without Mike. I really didn't. That was our show. But Mike encouraged this and really wants us both to do this. Once he explained that and talked to me, I said, okay.
Well, Mike's a busy man. Busy man.
So, and Snowdub offered to do this. Snowdub's the one who called me and said, why don't you do this? I said, let me talk to Mike, make sure it's not going to. And Mike has really encouraged we do this. So the Late Show will come back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And hopefully we have some really cool guests on tomorrow to hang out and BS the weekend into. Oh, bull crap.
Cool
you're always welcome. You know you're always welcome. You know you're always
I'm not the
welcome.
comedian in the bunch, so that's why I don't show up on those.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be. We're just hanging out and chilling and welcoming in the weekend. So he really is cool. He really is a great guy. So I talk to Snowdub probably once a week. He's a really great guy. And if anybody deserves success on this platform, it's people like him, people like Adega, and people that put their heart and soul into what they do. So
I like your circle. Their community is a good place to be. You know, I think about that often. You know, as a grown man and one of the elders in the group. I'm not as old as Dave Bob, you know, but I got some years on just about everybody here. It's good to hang out, and even when you do something as an adult of several years on your Monday show talking about nothing but cartoons, it's still fun.
yeah,
It's still fun, and you've built a great community, and you got good people around you, and it'll be good to have Snow and you doing that show tomorrow night. So, looking forward to it.
and Adega, every great comedian needs a great straight man. That's right.
Yeah, well, see, there's the great straight man. You got to find one for that.
So I don't know about that. There may be a horse. I don't know. Might be a white horse. I have no idea. All depends. It's Snowdub's show too, so he can buddy whatever he wants to. Maybe we'll get a horse. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But a big thank you to Adega. Thank you for all of you. You guys have a great night.
Yes.
We'll be back in the morning with Arwen and Dave Bob for the weekend review. I love that show. I cannot wait to. I am trying to get a video clip of what the hell is its name? Pinkie Pie, farting, glitter, and rainbow farts. Trying to get a video of Pinkie Pie. Yeah, fart and rainbow and glitter. So maybe
I'll
we'll
do some
get
homework for you. See if I could find one too.
Holy shit, guys. Until then, take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak Brenda and her. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great one, everybody.
See ya.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.